I have some very exciting news that you will already know if you watched my latest Disney pin mail video, and that is I made my own Disney inspired pin. Obviously, I really like pins, I enjoy collecting pins, I enjoy talking about pins, and for a while I had been thinking it'd be pretty cool to make my own pin, kind of have something that could be for my channel. So I kind of did this as a semi-secret project, dived in, and now I have an actual physical pin in hand that I designed. I've named this pin Mouse Cactus. Since I live here in Arizona, surrounded by desert, there's tons of cactus. Where I do field work down in Mexico, there's tons of cacti down there. And so I thought this would be a cute little nod to where I live now. But I also wanted this to be based on and inspired by something directly Disney. So the pin itself is an overhead view of 3 barrel cactus that form a Mickey head outline. And this is inspired by an actual hidden Mickey that is in the queue for Radiator Springs Racers out at Disney California Adventure. And in the queue there, they have 3 barrel cacti that are kind of shaped into a little bit of a hidden Mickey. So I thought that would be a really awesome idea to play on and make into a pin. So here's a close-up of what the pin itself looks like. It's made of a gold metal, and I am so beyond happy with how it came out because all of the metal lines are so detailed and the enamel is so glossy. I'm so used to Disney pins nowadays that have just really scratchy, dull enamel. And this is truly really nice and glossy enamel. It feels a lot more like the pins from Hong Kong Disneyland. I also did a little added special touch of some screen printed elements. So there are some screen printed flowers around the middle cactus so that it is in bloom. The pin itself is also a really nice weight. It feels like a real pin. And then the back is just a plain sandblasted back with 1 pin post and a gold metal clasp. I also made a backer card for this pin. So the background of the backer card is what's called a desert pavement. That's basically the surface that you see in the desert here. I thought that would also be good because it's rocks, and I like rocks because I am a geologist. This pin is a limited edition of 100, so I noted that on the backer card. Because I wanted this to kind of be connected to my channel, I have the YouTube logo and my YouTube name, Zippity Doo Disney. So I am really proud of how this turned out. It's so awesome to be able to hold a physical object in your hand that you actually designed. And if you'd like, you can also get one of these pins too. So I've set up a little pin shop. It's my goal to continue to make some Disney inspired pins. So if you would like to purchase your own mouse cactus pin, you can go to desertmousepinshop.etsy.com, and it is just $9 there. I wanted to make it as reasonably priced and within kind of standard Disney prices as I could. I am offering worldwide shipping, so I know USPS does not make it cheap to ship internationally, but if you are outside the US and you do want a pin, you can get one. If you want, you can also go to Desert Mouse Pin Shop on Instagram, since I've set up a little Instagram page for my pins. Right now, this is the only one I have available, but like I said, it's kind of my goal to continue to keep designing and making some Disney inspired pins. I already have design ideas for things that I wanted to do related to like Zootopia and Coco. I even kind of want to do something related to Halloween Town, churros of course, and then I do have 2 kind of cool geology related ideas. I know not everybody is into the combination of geology and Disney, but I think the designs that I'm thinking of are kind of unique and would hopefully be widely appealing. So if people are interested, I'm definitely looking forward to creating more pins. And of course, if you have any suggestions or things that you'd like to see in terms of pin themes, let me know. Obviously, I gravitate towards the things that I'm most interested in, but I want to make sure those are things that other people are also interested in. So again, if you want one of these, they're a limited edition of 100, so they won't be remade again. You can go over to my Etsy that I'll link in the description. I'll also probably link it in a comment. And if you do happen to get one of these pins, I'd love if you'd send a photo of yourself with it, or just somehow a pin in action, like either on a cork board or a jean jacket, or if any of these happen to make it to the Disney parks, that would be totally awesome too. So I now wanted to kind of quickly talk about the pin making process, since I was kind of thinking about wanting to do it, but it was a little bit daunting to kind of jump in. So The first and foremost step is that you have to come up with a design for your pin. So once I kind of settled on the design of I want to do this and have it be inspired by this actual hidden Mickey formed of cacti, in Illustrator I kind of just mocked up this design here. And then once you have a design, really what you have to do is choose a factory to make it. And that was the part where I was like, I don't even know where to begin. Like if you do just a Google search or an Alibaba search, there are so many different pin factories. You don't really know what you're gonna get in terms of like quality and customer service. And so many people in the fantasy pin community are very secretive about their manufacturers, so they don't really like to kind of give off information related to that. So I had found some blog posts by this person called The Pin Lord, and they had some kind of decent like step-by-step guides for how to go about making your own enamel pins. And one article they listed a few company suggestions that they worked with and that also had pretty good pricing. One of them was the Sunday Company, or the Sunday Co., which is actually a design company located in Australia. They said they had worked with them before and were really happy. They are a design company, but they do offer factory direct prices. So since I was just kind of starting out not knowing what to do, that seemed like the best option, since you're directly in contact with native English speakers, who I guess will kind of work as a little bit of a middleman in between the actual factory. So I contacted them for a quote and sent them my artwork. And there are a few things that you have to decide when you go about making your pin. There are a few really big decisions that will change how the pin looks and also how much each pin costs. I'd say the biggest split is whether you want a hard enamel pin or a soft enamel. I of course went for a hard enamel with this pin because I endlessly prefer hard enamel over soft enamel. I don't really like how soft enamel looks unless it has a really nice epoxy top coat on it. However, soft enamel is a lot cheaper to produce, so a number of people will choose that option since it's cheaper, but I think it's worth it to pay a little bit more and have hard enamel and have things that look a little bit nicer. You also have to choose things like what color metal you want, so I went with a gold metal for this because I wanted it to kind of look like the yellowish spikes on the cactus, but you can choose other tones. You have to choose how many colors you're gonna have, whether you're gonna have any other elements like glitter or screen printing. And then also very importantly is you have to choose the quantity that you want. So in terms of pins, the fewer the quantity you order, the higher the price per pin is. So a lot of factories, their minimum that they'll do is either like 50 or 100 pins, because the vast majority of the pin cost is making the mold itself for the pin, and it's kind of not worth it for them if it's something that isn't produced in high enough quantities. So once you start getting into the hundreds to thousands of pins produced, then it becomes a little bit cheaper, but that also means that you have to sell that number of pins, which for Disney itself is no problem. But I thought I'd go with 100 pins made. That seemed kind of like a sweet spot for this because I don't want to be left with a whole bunch of pins that I can't sell, but then also making really any less pins is a little bit too expensive. So I sent my artwork in with all of the things that I wanted. They sent me back a quote for how much it would be, and I said, you know what, let's go ahead and do this. So then they turned my artwork into this pin proof. So that's kind of what the factory means in terms of making the mold. There are colors assigned, and then they make a sample of the pin. So they sent me what the pin would look like. I said, I'm really excited, that's awesome. And so then they go ahead into production of the pins, and then they ship the pins out to me. So my experience seems to kind of be consistent with what a good factory experience should be in terms of kind of like the very start to receiving the pin process. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks. So you do have to be a little bit patient. It was so worth it for this. The quality of these pins came out so superb, better than I could have ever expected. So I feel like I would probably continue to use this company for pins in the future, but I also don't specifically know exactly how their pricing compares to all of the other factories out there just because there's so many. But it feels like I found something that worked really well, that I'm really happy with. So I do think it's worth the quality for these. I'll also say oftentimes when pins are made, there are a lot of pins that are either A grade or B grade, or flawed or unflawed, and sometimes people will get stuck with a lot of flawed pins depending on the factory. And I'll say, like, in terms of the first batch of 50 that I counted, I think only 2 had flaws and they were super minor. So that was also something really awesome. So as I've talked about, I do also have a backer card for these pins, and you can get backer cards made through the factories and sent along with your pins, but the price for that was a little bit higher than I was looking to pay for. I'm sure it would still be pretty nice quality and it probably come packaged well, but I actually just made these backer cards from business cards that I made on Vistaprint. So that ended up being a lot more cost effective. They are of course not super like thick cardstock quality. Of course you could probably like upgrade the business cards too and it would still end up cheaper, but I found that to be a pretty nice option since I do enjoy having backer cards and keeping them for my pins. So then when you want to make and sell your pins, there are some other things that you have to think about in terms of pricing them and the work that's going to go into it. So for every pin that you have and are going to sell, you're going to need a bubble mailer to mail it out. You're going to need bubble wrap to package the pin in. You're probably going to need shipping labels, so you'll need all the supplies associated with that. So when you're going to be selling a pin, it's not just the pin itself. It'll be the pin and the backer card if that's an option, the mailer it's in, all the packing supplies, the time it takes to pack it up, going to the post office. So that is something that you have to be aware of and committed to. So for my pins, I got some cute small pink bubble mailers. I found these on Amazon to use. And then I don't have like a label maker or label printer, I just use my regular printer. So I got 2 half label paper so that I can print off the labels and just stick them on as opposed to having to cut out things and use a lot of tape. And of course I always have a lot of bubble wrap on hand because I use that for packing up my ears and of course other pins that I mail out for trades. So that was a little bit about my pin and the process that went into making it. I'm super thankful of anyone who chooses to support my little pin business since it's a hobby that I find super fun. One other thing that I haven't mentioned yet that I think is important is that in making this pin and in designs I'm thinking of for the future, I want to be very careful in terms of not infringing on Disney copyright. Now, it's hard to tell whether or not even doing anything remotely close to the Mickey icon infringes on Disney copyright, but this is inspired by actual cacti, so I think it falls within the inspired realm. But there are a lot of small shops and just kind of fantasy pin creators that use copyrighted Disney characters, and that is like very much illegal. So Disney doesn't necessarily like hunt those people down. Disney will only take action if people like get turned in. So often it's competitors that will like turn in other people to Disney. But I want to keep things just like actually Disney inspired, not using Disney copyrighted things. But Disney doesn't really make it clear what exactly they have copyrighted, what exactly you can and can't do, because the small shop community now is so big, and Disney now is taking a lot of inspiration from stuff that the small shops are producing. So it's definitely a tricky fine line to walk down, but I think I'd like to stay and walk on the safe side. So again, if you pick up one of these pins, I'm super appreciative and thankful and hope you enjoy it. And as always, thanks for watching.